Hello, welcome. You've never heard this before. This is fresh. It's a new video. It's the first video. Make another YouTube channel, I said. Talk about what you're writing, I said. And what am I doing? Not that. Now this might be an unusual introduction to my channel, but have you considered subjectivity? I am planning on talking about my writing projects and my process and other goals of mine for the future. NaNoWriMo, I don't know, maybe even vlogging in the future. But today, just an easy book report, no effort more than a middle schooler level. This is everything I read from January to February. Was that dumb? That felt dumb. This is harder than I thought it was gonna be. Alright, so I use an app called Overdrive, and I use it to access my public library. 95% of what I read are audiobooks, so sometimes I will comment on the narration. It's just nice. It's like music, but very long. An 8-hour-long song where there's no instruments and it's just talking. So, basically the same. From January to February, I read 7 books. 5 audiobooks and 2 ebooks. So starting in January, I have The Dead Fathers Club by Matt Haig. Clearly I need to have my notes on me, so I'm going to hold them now. I was interested in reading this book because it was a Hamlet retelling, and I want to write a Hamlet retelling, or at least I'm considering it. We don't know if it'll actually work, but I'm considering it. Plot. Philip is an 11-year-old kid whose father has just died from a road accident, and his dad comes back to him as a ghost, of course, and says, Uncle Alan did it. This book was okay. Philip's perspective was at times unsettling because the book does have some swearing and adult content. The narrator does have talent, though, so much that sometimes Philip's voice was annoying. This book is classified as a mystery, but I don't think it is if you've read Hamlet and what mystery it did try to put into the plot. I don't know, it felt kind of out of step for me. I felt like the author should have gone all the way into the Hamlet or pulled back a little bit. Matt Haig is also the author of The Midnight Library, which is something I hope to read soon. And that was released last year. The Dead Fathers Club was released in 2007. It'll be interesting to see how his writing style has developed and evolved, and if I like it any better. Next was Heartstopper by Oseman. I read this in one sitting. It was a cute gay comic. These 2 boys, Nick and Charlie, go to high school together and form a friendship, and they have feelings, and it's a graphic novel, and the color scheme really spoke to me in these nice pastel greens and pinks. It was good. Apparently it's also getting a Netflix series. Next, 6 Angry Girls by Adrienne Kisner. Now, I don't give ratings to books lightly, and I hardly ever give them out, so for this book to get 5 stars for me really shows how much I like this book. The premise, amazing. The representation, stunning. Here's a blurb since it's able to describe it better than me. Adrienne Kisner's 6 Angry Girls is a story of mock trial, feminism, and the inherent power found in a pair of knitting needles. Okay, so we have 2 main character perspectives, Raina and Millie. Raina has just been dumped by her boyfriend, and she writes a letter to the editor, and the advice comes back that she should knit. Millie, our other perspective, is asexual and starts her own mock trial team to rival the school's current and all-male team. And so the premise of the book is now Millie has to find 5 other girls to be on her team, and that is where the 6 Angry Girls comes from. And I felt the community that Kisner built was really tight-knit, pun intended, and I was sucked into the drama and the competition of the trials. Good narrator as well. Was that 4 yet? Oh, okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1 more. To finish January, I read Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is also dual perspective with Camino and Yahaira. Camino lives in the Dominican Republic with her aunt, and her father visits her in the summer. We also find out that her father is Yahaira's father, who lives in New York City. She loves chess, and I just finished watching The Queen's Gambit, so that was a real nice tie-in for me. Like, I actually understood, like, part of the chess competition. So their father flies back and forth between the two countries, and in one flight his plane crashes in the Atlantic. We experience the aftershock of this event in both Camino and Yahaira's lives, and eventually they learn of each other's existence. Both of the characters struggle in such real ways, and I felt very connected to them even though they lived very far apart. The book is lyrical, like the prose sometimes felt more like poetry, and I don't know, just like the life of this book felt really engaging, and Acevedo is really talented at creating this world with her prose. Sometimes sentences would rhyme, but it's not a poem. There's also a healthy lesbian relationship. And can we talk about the cover art? Gorgeous. Like the cut down the middle, split in half, and the two girls, the leaves and the fire escape, just really nice. Narrator was also talented. I gave this book 4 stars. I wanted to give it 4.5, but I settled on 4. And that finishes January, on to February. Who's ready for February? That was so cringy, I'm sorry. So to start February, I read City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. Have you ever had an idea for something that you want to write, but then a few weeks later you come across a really similar book? Yeah. But anyway, it's good because now I have knowledge of what already exists. I think Schwab classifies this book as a middle grade, although it felt like it could easily fit into the YA category for me. It's just Cassidy's voice was, I think, 14, and she did read as a 14-year-old, but it wasn't unreadable for me. Alright, so Cassidy, or Cass, has a near-death experience by drowning, and she's in the Vale. Inexplicably, a ghost saves her, who becomes her best friend, Jake. Cass's parents love everything paranormal, and they get a TV show deal to go to Scotland, and this ruins Cass's plans for the summer vacation. So the first location is Edinburgh, Scotland. It's very gloomy, lots of rain, lots of ghosts, and she thinks she's going to have an awful time. I really like Schwab's conception of the Vale and how ghosts work in this book. I picked up this book because I started reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue in October, and I'm still not done with it, but I'm really gonna finish it soon. I just, I'm trying to savor it, and I'm sure I'll bring it up when I finish it. Next, I read Challenger Deep by Neal Shusterman, and oh my god, if I thought the narration was good earlier, this book blows it out of the water, and if you've read the book, you'll know how good of a pun that was. Challenger Deep is about Caden, who is mentally ill. He's not formally diagnosed at first, and the book takes place in 2 locations, one in the real world and one on a pirate ship, which I think represents his mind. And sometimes it's not clear if the 2 narratives are happening simultaneously, or if the timelines cross, or if one happens before the other, but I don't think it matters. The opening pages were great, the imagery was fresh and engaging. The narrator, okay, there's a parrot in this book, and it is so close to an actual parrot. There's pirates, a siren, what I can only describe as flubber monsters, parent voices, voices of just normal people that are different from Caden's, and it felt like a whole cast was reading this book to me, and I highly recommend this audiobook. I rated Challenger Deep 4 stars. Now that I'm thinking about it, I hardly ever rate books 5 stars. I just checked my history and I only rated half the books I read last year, and 7 of them got 5 stars. I thought I recognized Neal Shusterman, and not because of the Scythe book, which I haven't read, so I looked it up, and he wrote the Everlost series, which just screams middle school to me. Like, I was on Battle of the Books. Does anyone know what that is? Or is that just an East Coast thing? It's like a middle and high school competition. You read a list of books and you have questions on them in competition. Anyway, I was really into the Everlost series and just Maybe I should reread it. I had hoped I was saving the best for last, but it turned out to be the worst. Last in February, I read Hyperion by Dan Simmons in text form and an ebook, and the premise of the book is that there are 6 pilgrims on their way to the Shrike Temple on Hyperion. If I didn't mention it before, this book is sci-fi, and there's lots. It's in the far future, but not ununderstandable technology. The main meat of this book is the Pilgrim's 6 stories, so I feel like 10% of the book was actually the book's own plot. The first 2 stories did not like at all. Of the 6 pilgrims, there's only 1 woman, but she did have her own personality and use to the plot. If it was written today, I'm sure it would have a different cast of characters, but the cast of characters is what made the book back then, so what can you do? The third story was better, more engaging, so if you can get through the first third of the book, you might be able to get through the rest. I barely did. I had 3 weeks to read this. I finished it 3 hours before it was due. The rest of the stories in the book were fine. One of them is detective, and unfortunately I feel like the interest of the book is closer to the end, and the end was frustrating. Maybe the author was going for mystery, but it felt there just wasn't enough payoff, and it felt like he just wanted you to read the second book, which is fine, I respect that, but I also feel like just looking it up what happens at the end in the beginning of the second book, because I don't think it's worth a whole nother book in this universe for me just to find out what happens. And the book I'm currently reading is Night Circus, and this is an audiobook, and within the first 5 words, it sent me. I knew who this narrator was before he even introduced himself. My brain went, this is Jim Dale, the official narrator of the Harry Potter book series. Does anyone else have this very specific memory of what Jim Dale's narration sounds like? Growing up, I listened to audiobooks in the car, and Harry Potter was a very frequent loan. So I don't know, it's just embedded, and I've been reading Night Circus for 30 minutes, and I already, recognize some of the voices he was doing for Harry Potter, and it's very, it's nostalgic, which I feel is weird for an adult book, and one that I've never read, but I'm excited to finish it. This is the outro portion of the video. Best book of this batch, 6 Angry Girls. Worst, Hyperion. I'm hoping to read 8 or 9 books in the next 2 months. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Also, you should subscribe. Also, me and... gosh. I don't know, whenever I watch this video again, try not to cringe too hard. Okay, bye. Anyway, this is everything I read from January. Nope. One more time, but louder. I'm going to call that the intro clip.